So, not every story I have can be written cleverly to keep it somewhat light and squeaky clean. Occasionally I have a story that I have to tell that doesn't paint somebody in the kindest of light. But I feel like some of those stories are the ones most worth telling, because not everybody in a group of lads are all good all of the time. Sometimes they can slip, make mistakes, or do things that a lot of people would see as wrong. And it's important to show the world that nobody other than me is perfect. But you also don't want to be airing your mate's dirty laundry out in the world, bringing any kind of embarrassment to them. So there is that. Thankfully, past Ducky had the foresight to not actually use any of his mates' real names in videos. So let me tell you about a time one of the lads cheated on his missus and how she still, to this day, hasn't found out about it. But before I spill the beans, this video is sponsored by established... Wait. Hey, drunk Ducky, why is this all crossed out? Hello? Oh, why did I make him my secretary? Never about when you need him. And between you and me, I think he's been sleeping with my missus behind my back. Well, while I have you, if you ever consider throwing a few bob my way for the videos I do, I can let you know I now make commentary videos to partner these videos where I talk all about the making of it and general audience reactions to it after release. Think of videos bonus features. And you can get access to those by becoming a channel member here or a supporter over on Patreon, as well as the usual suite of benefits like seeing these videos earlier than everyone else, full frontal foul language, your name at the end, access to my Discord, and so on. All that for the price of a pint. So if that interests you, I've left the links to all that on a post-it note stuck to your fridge. So it was Friday, and we were all staring at our own fresh wages we just got into our accounts from a solid week's work, and we were all thinking to ourselves more or less the same thing. What is the most efficient way I can blow this all in one go? Yeah, we'll be broke for the week, but that sounds an awful lot like a problem for next week's boys to figure out, and they can barely afford to keep money for lunch for work, so it'd be completely irresponsible to leave them with the money in fairness. So like any gang of lads of that age, we thought, what better use for that much needed money than investing it in NFTs? Then we realised that would be terrible value for money, so we invested it more smartly by drinking it instead. And since this is a boys video, you could say we decided to wet our beaks. Thing is, we had gotten tired of heading to our local club every weekend to the point it was starting to cause a little bit of friction. Right, will you come on to it's nearly 11. They're going to be closed in a few hours.
I don't know, lad. Is there any point in going at this stage?
There's no crack to be had there anymore anyway. Well, I'd sooner be out there for the night looking for crack than in here looking at yours, so come on.
That's a fair point. Let me text a few women, see if I can find a place to holster my weapon tonight.
Fine. Let me go for a quick shower. For f***'s sake, how are you only showering now?
Well, if you're in that much of a rush, I can save us time and shower in the pub.
But there isn't a shower in the pub.
There is, yeah. A shower of cut.
So after pondering on it for a bit, PJ made the suggestion of heading out the following night in the city of Cork. He'd been out there a few times before and loved it. And even better, he knew a few people living down there, so he could sort us out for a place to stay for the night too. Sounded like a plan to us. So we start putting the wheels in motion. Right, I'll pop to the shop and pick up a few pre-drinks for tomorrow. PJ?
I'll notify the council.
Grand. And Hef, you go see if Sean's up for going.
Sean's away for the week.
And what about Sean?
He said he'd love to go, but he won't fit in the car, and he doesn't want to hoof it.
Really?
Yep, straight from the horse's mouth.
Could have been no fun without the main man there. He's always good for giddying up to no good.
Well, enough of the long faces. We got things to do, so stop stalling. So the plan came together as this. Tomorrow, myself, PJ, Hef, Tony and Connor would head down to Cork using the travel time to pre-game a few drinks. We'd park the car someplace safe for the night, hit up the pubs and clubs of Cork for a mad night out, and then head back to... Well, we didn't know where yet because it was on PJ to sort out the sleeping arrangements, and anytime we asked him, all we got was,
"Don't worry about it. It'll be grand."
Then once we're up, we can grab some grub and head home for a whack and a nap. What more could you want? So the following evening comes and we all pile into Connor's wagon, as he's the only one with tax on his car, and we set sail for Cork. Of course, on the way down we make use of the travel time by cracking open a few cans and tackling some of the world's biggest problems by means of intellectual debate.
Right, there's a glory hole with somebody's mouth on the other side, but there's a 50-50 chance that it's either a man...
Yes.
Let me finish. It's either a man or Emma Stone. Do you do it?
Who's the man?
Does it matter?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta have standards. Fine. It's Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, dear Christ.
That's a rough image.
Can you feel it out? Nope. He's clean shaven and you can't peek.
When do you find out?
At the point you're crossing the finish line.
Oh, that's evil.
Do you have to speak to him after?
Yep.
Okay, I'm out. Hearing Gilbert Gottfried praise my load would actually make me want to do something that involves a tarp and pulling the trigger with my fucking toes.
I'd do it.
Oh, really?
I'm getting a suck job either way. How is that bad?
Still though, Gilbert Gottfried.
Yuck. Speaking of sleeping with someone, is there any update on where we're staying tonight?
I told you, lads, don't worry about it. It'll be grand.
So we arrive in Cork and park the car in some random estate we find and start the 30-minute walk into the town centre. Quite an easy walk though, because we made the mistake of parking at the top of a very long steep hill, and all of us bar Connor were starting to feel the effects of the sauce, so we're essentially plodding down it on autopilot. Honestly, with how steep that hill was, I reckon we're only about 4 drinks shy of getting to the bottom without even having to use our legs. Now, up until this point, I'd never actually gone out in a city before, so I didn't really know what to expect. But I was looking forward to it, because according to the boys, there's a wider variety of pubs and clubs with different genres of music being played, so we wouldn't be stuck being waterboarded by Earth's most generic pop music all night. Unreal! There's a bigger security presence, so you won't need to worry about Scooby Joes looking to kick your head in outside of a Supermax because you had the cheek to ask him for a lighter. Great stuff. And there's a lot more women that are a lot less hostile about being flirted with than the heifers you'd find in towns, who tend to be a lot less approachable because they confuse all the attention they get from fellas as them being desirable, not realising all their value comes from what we used to call in the biz as a stock shortage. But that wasn't actually unreal, because I was currently in a 3-year-long relationship, so unfortunately I had to give that aspect of the night a miss. So, fast forward an hour later, and I'm in the corner of the bar with my tongue halfway down a stranger's throat. Okay, yes, the one of the boys that cheated on his missus that night was me. Oh, don't look at me like that, like you float around in your robe when you're not polishing your halo. You've done some dishonest shit too in your time. The only difference is, I didn't feel bad about what I did, because even though there was no excuse for it, there was a reason. And this is going to run a little deeper than I usually like to go, so you better ready your snorkel. You see, this girl I'd been dating, who was now my ex, was incredibly clumsy. Sometimes when she woke up in the morning, she'd go to stand up from the side of her bed and end up getting her feet tangled in her pants that were on the floor from the previous night, and she'd begin to fall. But to try catch herself, she'd try outrun the fall. Now, as we all know, try as you might, you can never outrun a fall. The only difference is, we'd land on the floor, whereas she would land on the cock of another man. Like I said, incredibly clumsy. I became aware of this clumsiness embarrassingly early into the relationship. She'd trip over those fucking pants every few months, and it was the usual cycle each time. I'd hear about it either from her or through somebody else. We'd break up, the boys would tell me not to get back with her, I'd agree, and then I'd get back with her again anyway because I had it out for my future self. Rinse and repeat. In those 3 years, I'm aware of 7 different lads she had landed on, and I was stupid enough to take her back each and every time. Maybe it wasn't even stupidity. Could have been that I had very little luck with women up until I met her and I was afraid that losing her would just lead me right back into being ignored again. Maybe it was self-esteem issues. Maybe I just used to be a more optimistic person and I actually believed her excuses. Who knows? That's for a future prison shrink to figure out. But her cheating did a few things to me during that relationship. It made me a paranoid mess, constantly checking to see if she was cheating on me because... well, she probably was. It made me a depressing person to be around because my scars were always fresh no matter what time of the year you caught me. And most of all, it made me mad as shit. Mostly at myself. Oh boy, I can't tell you how much I hated that pathetic worm of a man who let that bitch walk all over us. But I was mad at other things too. Mad she kept doing this to me. Mad she lied to my face. And most of all, mad at the amount of fanny I turned down to stay faithful while she was out there sucking more pipe than an asthmatic Mario. Do you know how much attention you get from women when you're in a relationship? They can smell the commitment off you, and that smell is better than any cologne. I don't know if it's forbidden fruit, they want what they can't have, or they're just attracted to men who are wanted by other women. But whatever the reason, they just seem to look at lads in relationships as higher value, and while I was with this girl, I was getting more offers than I ever got in my life, so I was fucking furious I ever said no when she wasn't doing the same. And after all the shit she put me through, I wasn't even sure I'd feel bad for her about it. I didn't know what to think or do that night. Honestly, I was completely conflicted. Right, if somebody flirts with you, don't act on it. You're better than this. If nothing else, you'll be able to leave this relationship with your head held high.
Hi, I like your hair.
Fuck it, I'm tall enough. Thanks, I love your boots. What did you say you were drinking? Okay, I wasn't that conflicted. But I was right. I didn't feel bad for her. But I did actually feel bad after it. Not that I cheated. I felt bad that I didn't feel bad. The relationship was so messed up and broken that I couldn't even find a single ounce of guilt in myself for cheating on my partner. And that's when I realised I had finally emotionally checked out of the relationship. For the second time in this relationship, I had become numb. But this time, it was emotionally. Which in a normal relationship is a terrible thing, but when you can't rely on yourself to not get back with somebody, it was the golden ticket. And sure enough, the following weekend, I was able to finally break up with her for good. And that's how my ex became my ex. I hope some of you out there got some value out of this story. I'm feeling a little bit too emotionally exposed right now, so if you don't mind, I gotta go scream in the face of something adorable. Oh, and for those of you wondering how the rest of the night went, worry not. There was more to that night than just my shenanigans, so there will be a part 2 coming soon. Okay, maybe not soon. This is me we're talking about here. A man who has all the speed where it doesn't count for much. I win! Connie, you really suck at this.
Just get off me.